Here is the week 3 of month 3 update for Cash or Crash. This month in the Cash or Crash experiment, I am building a PR business that vertically integrates into my main publishing house, Big Idea to Bestseller. Now, to remind you, Cash or Crash is a year-long experiment where every month for the year 2026, I build and start a new business from scratch to test different side hustles, to do things that are uncomfortable, to try new things, to see what happens, and ultimately to learn and answer one question. Did it make money? And at the end of every month, it either was a cash or a crash. And this month so far is trending towards crash. So let me explain. Let me talk about what happened in week 3. And let's talk about what we're really learning. All right. There is a lot to be said about what happens when things do not go according to plan. And that's what this week's update is all about. So let's talk about some top highlights, though. I always like to make sure that we focus on some of the good, even if the overall ain't it, right? And so for us, there were a couple highlights. Number one is I had an awesome conversation about cold emailing, figuring out how could I get in touch with these people at scale. I had a conversation with the cold email company that was very, very knowledgeable and intellectual, to the point where we could send out about 100,000 cold emails a month, have them run the entire system for us, and then get involved once a call was booked or once a positive reply was sent. Now, I won't go too deep into the cold email stuff because I don't want to bore you, but that was a really big highlight. It was like, you know what? Maybe this is a channel that we should bring back into our business because we've had some success with it prior. The second thing that was a really awesome highlight is with my team, we built out a rough draft of our one-page website for this. Now, it's really important to understand, in month 1 and month 2 of this challenge, I didn't focus on building a website right away. But because this is part of a offer and a business within our existing business, we wanted to have something, and we could utilize team that we already have to be able to do this, to then leverage it and use it beyond just the scope of this month. So this is actually a great use of our time. And that's something that we'll talk about here is like prioritization. What actually matters and when, especially in building a new business. So those are the top highlights from this month. And let's move on to the education and hypothesis time frame here. So what did we actually learn? Well, having this month go exactly opposite of what I planned for has been really, really interesting. So when I did this month, I thought that this was going to be a great month because we already have done certain PR stuff, which is awesome. And I thought that we'd be able to really just build this thing out and we'd be able to just immediately add it to our main business. Now, the truth is, we have been able to add it to our main business as an extended offering of what we already do, and that's awesome. But for the sake of this challenge, we're really focusing on trying to acquire new customers and figure out different acquisition channels and tap into AI and different cold emailing. But unfortunately, that hasn't been exactly what's gone on. And so the main reason for this is time, but more important than time, because again, I don't believe that time is the reason I am or not doing this. I believe it's my priority of how I want to use my existing time that determines this. So it's more about my priorities that are the reason for this challenge not going as well as we planned for versus just not having enough time, even though I'm not spending that much time with this. So I think something that's really, really important is that sometimes when you are crushing it and things are going positively and you're cruising and every day you're getting a little bit better, it's easy to see the momentum. It's easy to see the opportunity. But on the flip side, if you're not given enough time, if you're not prioritizing it early on in a business and you're not getting that momentum, then there's really no one else, truthfully, to blame other than yourself and what you're prioritizing. And so I'm learning a ton by not having the same success as the prior 2 months, where it's a struggle, not necessarily because I'm spending money and not making money, but because I'm not spending time and not also by default getting any results. And so I've boiled it down to a couple questions that we got to ask ourselves when we're building something new here is, what is the freaking priority? What is the priority? And how big of a priority is that? Okay. So for example, in my life for this month, Cash or Crash has taken a backseat. It has not been a priority. It has not even been prioritized to a certain amount of hours per week. Okay. And you have to ask yourself, well, what are you willing to do to make it happen? And my level of prioritization has clearly, if I just look at the data, said that I am not willing to do much to make this happen. Not willing to do much to make this a priority. And that is on me. Should I reallocate certain time? Could I put more effort in? Could I get better results? Could I build more momentum? 100%. And I know that to be true, and I believe that to be true because just with the little things we've done and the little time I've already spent, if I 3x that time, if I 10x that time, I would be getting so much more output, so much more knowledge, learning so much, potentially even more customers. But the next question you have to ask yourself is, am I okay with this? Because I think so often we guilt ourselves or we create this feeling of shame of like, God, I should do this. I should do that. I'm not doing this. Therefore, I'm not good. Therefore, I'm a failure. But what if there's something bigger going on in your life that's more important? So you ask yourself first, what's the priority? And what am I willing to do to make it happen? Then based on that, you have to say, well, okay, am I okay with that? And so if your answer to that is yes, you're okay with that, then don't stress out. Figure out just what can you do? What shifts do you want to make? Maybe you're not really interested in this, and so there's that internal tension. Maybe you love it, but there's something really pressing going on in your life that takes priority. But maybe on the other side, you might answer, am I okay with this? You might answer no. If you're not okay with that, then you have to take responsibility and change how you're prioritizing this. All right? If you're not okay with it. And so in this case, I'm going to use me as an example here. All right? So what is the priority, right? Am I okay with this? Am I okay with spending little time and not having a ton of success this month in Cash or Crash so far? To be honest, I am okay with that. Why? Why am I okay with that? Well, because I know that I have other things going on in my life that are a little bit more of a priority for me. And I'm spending a lot of time on our main business, which I love doing and I'm really proud of. And have I given this Cash or Crash month enough time to really be successful? No. But am I okay with that? Yes. So here's what I'm not going to be doing. Is I'm not going to be shaming myself. I'm not going to feel guilty. I'm not going to be like, oh gosh, Jake, you're a disappointment. You're a failure. No. You know what? You're learning a lot. And honestly, to not succeed at something on the first try at the highest level, it's an awakening. It's like, okay, this happens. How do we adjust? What do we want to adjust, right? But if I wasn't okay with the results I'm getting, then I would immediately make a change. I'd look at the calendar, figure out where I could prioritize this. I'd put that time on the calendar, and I would honor that commitment to myself, right? And this is so important to understand. You either got to be in or you got to be out, right? Right now, I'm trending towards out. Am I okay with that? All right. Now, this doesn't mean that, oh, I just am not prioritizing it. I'm okay with it. I'm not going to do it. And you just make all these excuses. That's not what we're talking about here. What I'm talking about is purely around prioritization for what matters to you in your life at that moment, right? And every person who's seeing this is going to be at a different stage. For some of you, starting a new business, it is do or die. The shifts have been burned. You have to make that succeed. So for you, the priority is that it has to work. You cannot afford to not take action. You cannot afford to just say, you know what, screw it, I'm doing some other things. Your prioritization has to be the thing that actually matters. And that's something that I really want to stress. Okay, so the last thing that I want to share here that I learned that kind of ties into this, ties this in is a lot less people are paying attention to you than you think. So I've posted about this regularly. I've probably made over 50 story posts in the last couple of months. I've made 50 plus feed posts in the last few months related to Cash or Crash. And I just had somebody who I consider a good friend who I know follows me. And he was like, so what is this Cash or Crash thing that you're working on? And it was like, oh my gosh. It was an awesome reminder. And I was like, wait, you don't really know what I'm doing? He goes, no, I've seen a couple things, but I don't know what's going on. It was like, oh my gosh. I've talked about this so many times. And it was such a great reminder because people are paying attention to you less than you think. People are seeing your posts less than you think. And this is great for any business that you're doing. Is you think, oh my gosh, I posted about this 5 different times. People are bored of it. The truth is, most of your people probably still hasn't even seen that. And if they have seen it, they need to see it multiple times before it actually hits or resonates. So this was a great reminder for me to talk more about the same things, just different ways so that people can eventually have it ingrained. Because sometimes I think about that too with my general content. Maybe I shouldn't post about this. Maybe I shouldn't do that because I don't want to overwhelm them or I'm talking about this too much. Now, most of the time, you're not talking about it enough. All right, so you think people are paying attention, they're not. You think you're posting enough, you're not. You need to post more. You need to be okay with the process of creating the content and the results. You need to worry less about bothering people and more about trusting the process. All right, and so early on when building a business, when starting content, when doing any of this stuff, you have to create and increase the output. Right? You have to create more posts. You have to talk about things more. That's how people are going to see you. right? There are people out there that will say, do it 100 times every single day. Most people think that their volume is at a good enough level when in reality it's barely scratching the surface of what could be. Okay? So that was a huge lesson for me, a huge reminder for me that actually has been able to give me recognition in my main business to figure out, oh, you know what, maybe I need to be posting this type of content. This is the best piece of content. I've only done one this month. I should probably double down on this. I should probably do this every single week and just say it in a different way. All right, and so really, really want to stress that to you guys. This is what I'm learning throughout the experience. And so for time, I spent about 1 hour this past week on this, totaling 4.5 hours in 3 weeks. That's 4.5 hours of the 30 that I could spend within the challenge limits. All right, so as you can see, we're not prioritizing it. All right. And so the financial update, here's the deal. There's been zero new revenue yet. However, we do have some people who have seen a couple posts and are interested. And we also have built something that could generate revenue in the future. So I'm really excited about that. But the expenses, the only expense that we've had is our team building out the sample page for the website. Now, I'm not going to divulge exactly what our team makes, but this could range depending on who you decide to hire. If you hire somebody on Fiverr for a simple one-page website, if you hire somebody from your existing team, if you hire a expert in web design or funnel creation, that could be a different cost, or an AI platform that does web design, right? There's a few different pieces of the puzzle here, but you could spend as much or as little as you want on a single one-page website that has all of the core information you need. So there you have it. That's the week 3 update here. I'm optimistic that before we finish this challenge, we'll find somebody who hears about this and they will want some of the PR that we can do, or at least be interested. And so that will hopefully generate us a client. And so then in theory, this would be a cash, but ultimately the effort so far is trending towards crash. And that's just part of the process, but we're learning a lot. We're having a lot of fun. So I don't have much better updates for you, but I hope that you can also learn in this, and maybe this will save you some time and money in the future, make you more money by doing something they actually prioritize. Talk to you later.